Good morning, everyone. I would like to call our regular Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency meeting to order at 10 a.m. We're located in the Village of Broadview Municipal Building, 2350 South 25th Avenue. Celeste, can we get a roll call, please?
Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Mayor Rebo.
Here.
Mr. Scalise. Here.
Here.
Ms. Jones. Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, do we have any public comment? Anyone put anything in writing to Celeste or to the superintendent? All right, next on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from February 27th, 2025. Have everyone had an opportunity to review, and do you have any questions or comments?
None here.
I need
Motion for approval.
Thank you.
Second?
All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the monthly financial report from 2025 and February 2025. Kelly? Good morning. I know, I feel like it's evening too, Kelly.
I'm so used to doing night meetings, the morning meetings get me tripped up. Okay, so I'm gonna go through February as it's a culmination of January and February financials. At the end of February, we had 10.6 million in cash and investments. 5.3 of it was related to the transmission main and the debt service fund. We are basically at 10 months of the year, which gives us a pretty good idea of where we're going to end up at the end of the fiscal year. As of the end of February, we're operating a surplus of 2.3 million, where we had budgeted a $2 million deficit. Realistically, the 2.3 million is based on the fact that, one, we've earned $350,000 in interest this year. Congratulations to us. But also, we still haven't started that big project yet. As far as this month's checks, I did want to point out to you that there is a check in there to transfer that money that we collect related to those restricted revenues, the transmission main and the debt service. So that gets us current through February. So there'll be a little over a $500,000 check that will go to Illinois funds to be put into those accounts. I also want to apologize for the checks. We printed the checks to find out that the printer was out of ink, and then we got additional bills. I went to a different printer and the alignment was off. So I apologize that we have the two gaps and voids. All the voids have been given to Wesley for him. Other than that, I have nothing else.
Thank you, Kelly. I have a questions about because I was reviewing our report that we give for the budget, and as it relates to the check numbers, can you tell us what those checks numbers are, the ones that's voided, because we got on here, but we don't have the check numbers?
Yeah, so the voided checks want to know? 17736.
Wait, hold on, so that's 17736.
I'm sorry, to 17739. 17787 to 17792. I'm sorry, these are the checks that were used. 17795 to 17797.
Okay,
And then
thank
do you
you.
want the voided ones?
The voided ones you gave to me.
Those are the checks that were used. The ones I just gave you were
Yep.
the checks used.
I got it.
Checks used?
Yep, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Kelly. Any questions for Kelly? Thank you. Next on the agenda is the status report for the fiscal 25-26 annual budget.
I have been in communication with Wesley. I still haven't received the first draft. I'm going to turn the discussion over to him.
Okay.
So I'm currently working with Manager Berry and Administrator Jones, and we're getting some numbers together, and then I'm going to submit it to Kelly to do a draft budget, and then I'll present that to you early next week.
Okay, so you're working with the manager and the administrator to draft up a budget to give to Kelly to prepare for review for us?
No. I've been working with Administrator Jones and Manager Barry. For whatever reason, I haven't been able to meet with the accountant to go through the numbers. So once I plug in everything, I'll have a draft budget for the board.
Okay, so we'll get a draft next week?
Yes.
And so are we still on track to have the annual budget review by April 24?
Yes.
Okay, any questions from the board for this discussion?
I would have one question, if I may. I did see in the packet the Chicago increase. Is there going to be any substantial request for an increase to the members?
So I was going to recommend that we do an increase to the agency customers to the board. So that will be for discussion.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, so when you give the draft, can you give a summary of what that would look like? Because we're in the middle of budget as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is consideration from the Letter of Chicago regarding the 4% water increase effective June 1st. So every year, the city of Chicago increased water rates. And I'm proud to say that not every year that the agency put that back on the paying customers. But as we go forward, there may be an increase that will come back to our paying customers, i.e. Village of Broadview, Westchester, and the other water customers that we do have. But we need to be fiscal responsible on what that really look like for us because of times of uncertainty right now. Is it practical? And the city of Chicago don't care. And so we have to be real intentional on what that looked like at an overall picture for the paying customers as well as the agency. So we need to look at like water projects, infrastructure projects, how often our water mains are breaking. When they do break, the cost that's allocated with that. Because we municipalities have to be able to articulate that to the consumers, which is the paying customer, our paying water customer. So just be real intentional when y'all have that discussion around water rates and what that look like. Not saying that it's not necessary, but we have to be responsible and be able to articulate the conversation that the paying customer can understand the reason and the purpose of why it has to increase if we increase it on our end. And with the cost of everything else going up and everything that's taking place at a much higher level than our local level, it's just an uncertainty right now of what that looked like because we may not be getting federal grants to do some of the water infrastructure. We're looking at how they're looking at municipal bonds, cutting that out. If they cut out the municipal bonds, that's going to kill us because we will not be able to afford to do anything. So we have to be real intentional about these conversations when we look at increases in any area of government, especially at least the next 12 months. We can't go past that, not from my lens, but at least the next 12 months, we know what's in front of us, especially the municipal bonds. And that's a big deal, a great big deal, not just to municipalities, but to the water agency as well, on how we look at bonding out projects. So any other questions or concerns? Okay. Next, consideration and approval for the purchase and service for from the Monters Corporation for the purchase and installation of a motor drive and related to 0.35 to 0.5 amp in the amount of $5,060.60. I need a motion and a second.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Any questions from the board? Celeste, can we get a roll call, please?
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Jones? Yes. Mr. Scalise?
Yes.
Mr. Crumstock?
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the status report for the agency water reservoir capacity, 1.5 million gallon water. Any updates? Are you with Hancock? Yes. Okay. You have any updates for us?
Couple of the other items on the agenda today will be the award and approval of the contract to DN Tanks for the expansion of the reservoir. We reviewed the bid tabulations and previously made a recommendation to DN Tanks. And then, following that, we will, there will be preparation of construction engineering observation agreements for that project as well, which we will, place before the board. So that's the current status.
Yes.
The contractor said that they could, the completion time, I believe, is October of '26, so they could probably delay the start until early of 2026. If the funds are not available till then, they could delay that.
Mike, again, you probably all know my concern. I had a conversation with,
Yeah.
we gotta switch places. So, obviously, you all know my concern, the timing of our bond issuance is subject on the villages. I had a conversation with your finance director here in Broadview, and we talked about the timeline for your audits, and the 2024 audit most likely won't start until sometime mid to late summer here, which means it's not getting done until December. I went back to Tom Reedy at Stifel Nickel saying, hey, we put this debt reserve in place. We put a funding source for this bond in place. Does that change the picture? And he goes, unfortunately, no. So the fact that we can delay this until the spring is a good thing, because I'm not sure that the agency is going to issue bonds much before then, because of the earliest we'll be issuing bonds will be the fall because of the timeline of the audit. So just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. Any questions?
No.
About the update?
Not here.
Okay, next on the agenda is consideration and approval for finance report, March 27, 2025. The checks for approval are 17736 through 17739, and 17767 through 17792, and 17795 through 17797. We have some voided checks. Checks voided is 17740 through 17767, and then 17793 through 17794. The amount is $1,187,741.48. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Any discussions regarding the bills? Celeste, can we get a roll call, please?
Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Rebo?
Yes.
Mr. Comstock? Yes. Ms. Jones? Yes. Mr. Scalise?
Okay, next is consideration and approval of resolution number 2502, approving amendments to the employee handbook for the Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency to adopt a clothing and uniform allowance policy. I would like to table this until the next board meeting.
Motion to table.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is consideration and approval of Resolution 2503, a resolution accepting the low bid and authorizing the approval and execution of construction contract with lowest responsive qualified bidder, DN Tanks LLC, in the expenditure of agency funds to complete the 1.5 million gallon water reservoir project at the 10th Avenue Pump Station. The lowest bid contract price is $6,192 and $1,192,600. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? So we've heard from the engineer and we heard from the accountant. Celeste, can we get a roll call, please?
Mayor Rebo?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Jones? Mr. Scalise? Yes. Mr. Comstock?
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is consideration and approval for Hancock Engineer Company to submit a proposal for professional engineering service agreement to conduct engineering reviews of the engineering approvals for all of the Illinois Department of Transportation plans specification permit applications on behalf of the agency for the proposed 2026 IDOT Bridge Replacement Project on I-290 Expressway over Des Plaines River for agency board review at today's meeting. So I need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussions? I have a question for Hancock as it relates to the professional services that's gonna, do we know what the cost is gonna be with all, because it's got all Department of Illinois, the IDOT.
The cost of the water main or the engineering review?
Well, this particular consideration is for the plans, specification, and permit applications.
Yeah, so
Let me see if I got that.
IDOT will, it is our suggestion that IDOT actually design the water main, write the specifications, because it would be a lot more efficient and seamless. They use a different CAD program than we do. They arrange their specs in a different format. This is their job. And they would be bearing the cost of that. But obviously, the agency still needs to review what IDOT is designing to make sure it meets our, specifications and has our interest in mind. So this agreement, the agreement would be on the agenda for the next board meeting, but we would draft an agreement to review all of IDOT's work on behalf of the agency. We still have to work up, what those estimated costs would be. It would probably be on an hourly basis.
Okay, so I'm gonna defer this to the attorney, because I don't understand why we approving something and we don't have a cost.
Mayor, the consideration and approval is to allow the engineering company to submit an approval. And as the engineer has indicated, there's a need to go over those materials to figure out exactly what it is. You're not accepting the proposal, you're not accepting the cost, you're not accepting anything. It's simply direction for him to put together those materials. And that specific item will come to you at the next board meeting for consideration and approval.
No, I understand that process, but Hancock is our engineer for the agency. I don't understand the process of why we have to go through them.
Process of approving that.
Yes, because we've never done that before.
And my thought on that would be that because this might not be something that has been part of the budget or part of the agreement in the past, that it potentially becomes an expense that is in addition to whatever.
But it's gonna be a cost anyway, because we gotta approve an agreement for them to do the work. So why are we doing like a pre-approval? It's like it's guaranteed that they're gonna get the work, and so I'm opposed of that. It need to be real transparent in how we function and operate as an agency regarding who are, they are our preferred vendor for our engineering. And so if we know that we got all of these specifications and permits, they do this work for us anyway. So why are we pre-approving something for them to take place? I don't understand that.
And again, if the board has an objection to the cost that is going to be proposed, certainly they can specify that. They can require the engineer to make the proper proposal to be presented to you, whatever those costs are for review. If it's not part of the scope of the work that they do generally for the agency. I'll confess that I'm not familiar with what that specific item and scope and arrangement is with the engineer, so I can't speak specifically to those items, but certainly it is up to them to present a proposal that the board will consider. If there's some concerns on part of the board and the agency as to that cost and whether it is going to be in excess of what you would consider appropriate, or what the board would consider to be outside the scope, or is too much outside the scope, then at that point in time, I suppose that the agency
I don't think
can
it's
seek
outside of the scope of work that they typically do. I don't, specifications, let me see, specifications, the engineering, reviewing, permit applications, they've done that before. I think my concern is that we receive something for consideration on our agenda, and it has no allocation of cost, like what it costs per hour for them to do this. I mean, usually when we get the scope of work of contracts, we get like engineering phase one, this is what the cost is, and it's broken down. We don't have that.
Understood, and I am not disputing that or indicating that that's not something that is for the agency to consider and approve. Certainly, perhaps the fact that we're only talking about, perhaps what you could do is table the approval and certainly make this simply a consideration and discussion of the item, and give instruction to the engineer to bring the specific numbers, and at that point in time, approval can take place. Perhaps it's just the manner in which the agenda was put together that might kind of, raises the concern for the agency. So certainly consideration today, but not approval until actual numbers have been presented for
I'm
the board to
clear.
consider. So that, I guess that would be I think that's how I would address the board's question.
Thank you. Yes, Mayor?
I think, being that you're not at every meeting of ours here, I think one thing I'd like to mention that the Mayor didn't mention was they are our engineer of record.
Yes.
So
Right. no,
typically
and I
would have
understand
received that.
That's the case, yes,
Okay, I just-
I reviewed that, so certainly,
Understood.
does it fall within the scope of whatever their services is that they provide to the board?
Yes.
And if so, certainly that would be appropriate for
Sure.
you to then consider those issues. Not knowing the specifics and the background to the full degree where I would be able to speak as to whether this is a cost that is outside of those numbers, then certainly that's where I suppose my shortcoming today is.
Understood.
But again, if the board is to consider any kind of specific amount of cost or cost associated with this project, then certainly you're not approving it today. You're simply giving direction to them to submit it, and then consideration can be had and discussion can be had at such time as you have those numbers in front of you and whether they will be approved or not.
I'm clear. Yes, sir.
I would also suggest that due to the nature of this project, and if you'd read the memo, back in 2016, IDOT did,
I wasn't the mayor in 2016.
no, but there was a memo
Well, I'm just
attached.
saying.
There was a letter attached from IDOT to the memo that IDOT understands that the original water main was constructed in the 40s. Therefore, any relocation work necessary, that's before the construction of the expressway, that they would be bearing the costs for that. And so I would suggest that whatever review fees that the agency occurs, we would petition IDOT to pay for those as well.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, I like that.
So, I would like to make a superseding motion to table this until we get all of the facts from Hancock, as he referenced a memo from dated 2016, just so that we can have eyes on what really took place. I don't know what that is. And then how it impacts the other municipalities as we go through this process. We know it's the I-290 expansion, and we know all of that's taking place. But where we at in the process, I have no idea and how that impacts the agency. So for transparency, I just like to be upfront and direct.
The agency has, their main feed from Chicago runs along the south side of the expressway. And when it gets to the river, it branches off to a north. There's two crossings of the river. The new bridge is going to impact both of those. So they will need to be protected or relocated one at a time. And that's the work that IDOT is going to design, and then we would then review.
Okay. We're not opposed of being reviewed and protecting us. It's just, they don't have no cost allocated to it, so I'm not comfortable with that. So I need a motion and a second to table this to the next board meeting for
So-
April 24th.
Motion to table.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Superintendent's report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I submitted my superintendent's report to the board electronically. For the month of March, the agency completed a total of 22 duty locates along with daily maintenance. The station pumped a total of 97,638,000 gallons of water. And also, the water use comparison data sheet for March is attached. And then I just have a question for the engineer. In regards to the I-290 work, are we keeping those two crossings, or is we just going down to one?
No, we should keep two crossings as backup across the river.
Okay, thank you. That's, let's see. And also, the water operator position is still open, and we're still accepting resumes. It's on, the job posting is on Indeed, the agency's website, the Village of Broadview website, the Village of Westchester website, and the Illinois section AWWA website as well.
Are we posting, I got a question about that. Are we posting, I know Public Works Department have an association. I don't know if the agency is members of the, you know the association name? APWA. APWA. I think we should post there as well,
Okay.
because that's Public Works and you get water infrastructure through that.
Okay,
Any questions for the superintendent?
No.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I don't believe we have closed session, Mayor.
No,
Okay.
nothing more.
So with that being said, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Just remember that election is on Tuesday, April 1st. Make sure you go out and vote.
Yes.